Oh, hello there, and welcome to the Design Make Play Show. I'm your host, Zachary Anderson. For those of you who are new to the show, here on Design Make Play, we seek to engage makers through challenges and discussion, to highlight maker projects, and of course, to learn about the STEAM-based curriculum. That's science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. If you like anything that you see here today, make sure to check us out at zenmakerlab.com, where we offer a variety of programs, and right now, summer camps. In those summer camps, you're going to be building some pretty cool projects. But if you, for some reason, can't attend a summer camp, you can always find those same project kits on our website. If you go to shop.zenmakerlab.com, you can find a couple of our project kits there. And while you're there, you might as well pick yourself up some PPE, some personal protective equipment. Zen Maker Labs has been designing and manufacturing a variety of face shields, both a pro version that includes some 3D printed parts and an air version that is entirely laser cut. And both were designed here at Zen Maker Labs by our own engineers. Now we're trying to make this live stream as interactive as possible, and so we'll be making postings on Instagram and of course Facebook and a few other places. So if you'd like to interact with me during the live stream and maybe get a shout out, of course you can answer all our questions and whatnot via those mediums. So let's go ahead now and take a look at our special video announcing our summer giveaway. So our first maker highlight for today, I hope you're ready, it is Clancy's Sailboat. Is Jackson's R2-D2, Oscar's Star Wars Cannon, and this one is Hudson's Illuminator. Yes, so Zen Maker Labs is running a summer giveaway, and of course all the projects that get submitted and shown on our Maker Highlight segment of the show that starts just after the first half hour or so. All those projects are entered to win some really cool prizes. We've got some prizes that were given to us by the Vancouver Canucks, some really cool science sticks, hats, and whatnot. So we're really excited to give some of these out to some of the makers, of course, in our community here and globally. So it's been a really exciting contest. Of course, if you want to submit your project for a chance to have it highlighted here on the Design Make Play TV, you can either send it to us via email or, of course, send it to us through some other means like Instagram or Twitter with just a picture of a project that you're working on and some details about it. And of course, if you're looking for some possible examples, you can just watch our Maker Highlight segment for a couple examples of projects that are already entered to win. So our challenge for today, that's the part that we're going to move on to here, is called the pet problem. Now this is a pretty easy one. I think we can figure this one out. So there are 3 steps here. Let's go through them. So first up, I have tried to draw a cat, and we saying here that cat times 5 equals 10. Okay, and then we've got a little puppy dog here, and we're saying that our puppy dog times 2 equals 5. Okay, and finally down here we've got cat plus dog equals what? So that's what I want to know. What does cat plus dog equal? What does cat plus dog equal? And just a heads up, this is going to have 1 decimal point at least. So yeah, it's not a nice whole number. It's going to be a decimal. It's going to have a decimal. So that is your question for today. Now let's go ahead and dive into our segments.
Hello and welcome to the Design Make Play Show. I'm Sarah and I'm an illustrator and designer at Zen Maker Lab, and today we're going to cover the basics on how to draw the human figure. So let's get started. So what is the point of learning how to draw the basic human figure? Well, the point is that humans are really hard to draw, first of all. We are complicated, complex figures. But once we can master how to draw people, we can really draw anything. So I've broken down a few steps on how to draw people. So let's get into it. To begin with, I want to start with the human proportion, so the basics of knowing how to do that. I'm not going to go into too much depth, but you guys can learn more about it if you're interested. But pretty much, people, when we're drawing them, they're measured in heads. So we can either use our thumb or we can use a pencil when we're measuring it out. But as shown here, each head is showing the height of the person. So roughly there's 8 heads in an average person when we're drawing them. So again, you can look more into that if you're interested. But moving on, I'm going to start by talking about gesture drawing, which is the first step when we're drawing people. So to begin with, these are some examples of what gesture looks like. And pretty much we're capturing the movement and the action of the character and the pose that they're in. And here's another example of just showing how quick and rough these sketches are. And so now let's give it a shot. So I'm just going to start drawing a gesture drawing on my iPad here. So pretty much I just want to get down quickly what the shape of the person is and the pose that they're in. So I'm looking at the direction of the spine and I'm just getting this down, drawing the legs and the feet. And again, it can just be really rough when we're doing this because it's just to capture the pose of the person that we are drawing. So that would be the first step of gesture drawing. And now moving on, we would be starting to create shapes. So shapes would look like this example. And pretty much people, when we're drawing them, it looks like they're almost like a robot broken down into a bunch of shapes. But we're not literally, of course, drawn as shapes, but it really helps us understand the human figure and the mechanics behind it. And again, it kind of looks like a bit of a robot, but we're gonna take it further. So let's just try it out ourselves. So first, I would just be marking what shapes I'm seeing. So I've got the circle, here's the head, and then I've got a square as the top body, and then a cylinder as like the waistline to show that there's movement. And then the arms and the legs are also cylinders, and the elbows are circles for the joints. So I'm just gonna get that down. And again, it can be really loose if you want, but it's just to show the shape of the person that we're drawing. So now we get a bit of a better understanding of the mechanics and what the person looks like internally as well. So now we would be adding volume to our design. So going from the gesture drawing, we're adding more detail so that really at the end of the day, our person looks like a 3D object and there's detail added to it with shadows and light and details. So again, this is just an example showing blocking out the shadow and then using the light, and then we can kind of merge the two using cross-hatching and line work. So lastly, that's what I'm just gonna do. And I'm just gonna block in where I could kind of see where the shadow could be potentially going. So I'm just gonna draw that in. So we can just pretend that the shadow is coming from the left side here. And so now I would just be using my pencil and I'm just drawing lines in the direction of where the body is curving, because of course humans are not flat. So I'm just drawing lines to kind of curve out the shape of the figure. And we're using cross-hatching here. And that's just a few basics so you guys know where to kind of have a starting point. So again, I'm not going to go into too much depth in that, but I love for you guys to try that out. So next we can start creating. So we can take our sketches and our designs of our characters and really bring them to life by starting to do gesture drawing. And then next we can add detail and add volume to make our characters really come to life. Using the concept in this segment, I want you guys to try to draw a family member or a friend using the 3 basic drawing principles that we're going to learn. One being is gesture drawing, and 2 is adding shape, and 3 is adding volume. So I hope you guys have fun and try it out at home, and I can't wait to see what you end up creating. So ultimately, what I hope you guys took away from this segment today is that humans are not as hard to draw as we think, and when we can break them down into steps, we can apply those techniques to our other drawings that we want to do. So ultimately, the 3 steps that we learned today is we learned how to do gesture drawing for the first step, the second was creating shapes, and the third was adding volume. So I hope you guys had fun, and I'll see you soon.
For a week now, I've been late to work. Can somebody lend me a hand? I'm here. Sorry I'm late. But no more! Today, we are going to compile everything that we've learned and finally build myself a clock that is indestructible and can count accurately. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So we've been learning about a lot of really cool concepts. We learned about time, oscillation, we learned about binary counters, and we learned about light. And now it's time to combine them all into one awesome project kit. So I've compiled a variety of parts that are gonna go into this LED clock that's going to be using all of the things that we've learned. And so let's do a quick count and see what's here and how many we should have. So first off, we should have at least one LED strip, okay? One LED strip, make sure you count them. There should be 12 LEDs on there. We should also have 12 of these acrylic teeth or acrylic hands. And these are taking advantage of that episode of light, okay? Those parts there. We've also should have 3 of these push buttons, okay? 3 of these push buttons. Each one is gonna do something kind of fun. 1 of our PCBs, that's already got our circuit. Should have 2 of these 15-pin connectors, okay? We're gonna have 1 Grove connector, 1 Arduino and cable, of course, to program it. And we should have a front plate and a back plate. Finally, we should have all of our mechanical little screws and standoffs. So we should have 6 of these 4x40 screws. We should have 4 of the female to male standoffs. We should have 2 of the short female to female standoffs. And we should have 2 of the long female to female standoffs. So now that we've covered all the parts, let's go ahead and solder the board. So I've already soldered this PCB together, and now we're gonna start constructing both the parts around it and the enclosure. So let's go ahead. We're gonna go ahead and start with our Arduino. So I'm going to look at this PCB, and I'm going to see that it says USB on this end. We can just plug that in right there. Just pop right in, hopefully. Make sure that the pins aren't bent. And I always just push it in by pushing down on the controller. And then we're gonna grab our LED strip and we're gonna plug in our Grove connector. Just like that. Okay. So that's all the plugins that we have to do. And now it's time to start constructing the assembly. So I'm gonna start with this back plate. And I want this piece to be in the bottom right-hand side. Okay. It's gonna fit on like this, okay? So the white button should have the little logos in that bottom bit. Okay, so remember that. What we're gonna do now is I am going to attach each of these standoffs, the small female to male, okay, with a screw to this back plate. So let's go ahead and do that. And one side, this side, will be the back side, of course. So let's go ahead, let's grab that. And I can actually just hold the screw and turn the standoff. So let's just do that. Perfect. And we're done, look at that. Isn't that absolutely fantastic? Okay, so now we can go ahead and we can fit this piece right on there. Oh, perfect, absolutely. So now we're going to connect some standoff pieces here. So I'm gonna grab the 2 short standoffs, okay? And I'm gonna screw them in at the top. Look, so they're both now screwed in on the top. Next, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to screw on the 2 standoffs on the bottom. Wow, fantastic. Okay, so we're very close to being done, but we still need that front plate. This is our front plate here. You can go ahead and peel off the sticker, but for the sake of time, I'm just gonna pop them right in. And we're gonna need our 12 hands, our 12 acrylic teeth, and we're gonna pop those into place. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab my acrylic tooth here, and I'm just gonna pop it in through the back plate. It should just fit in just like this. There we go. So I've got the first one in. Okay, I'm just gonna go around and put all 12 in. Wow, whew, that was exhausting. If you have some trouble putting these in, sometimes it helps to kind of like push it down against the table when you're popping them in. But there we go, they're all done. So what we're gonna do next is we are going to put our LED strip around this LED clock. And I am going to start with this top piece, and it's really important that we wrap it around like this. Okay, so the LEDs should all be pointing inward. They should all be pointing inward. And we're gonna start with this one, and we're gonna go all the way around. So I'm gonna start at the very top. Okay. The way that the arrow points on the LED strips is the way that the clock is gonna go around, so make sure that it is clockwise. So I'm gonna go ahead and fit in all these LEDs now. And we wanna make sure that they are lined up, each one with each piece. Okay, that's really important. So let's do it. All right, so we're finished, look at that. So now this strip is all the way around, and each of my LEDs is facing inwards. Remember that the slanted piece should be inwards, and it kind of looks like an Iron Man center. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish this up. We're gonna put that top piece on, and we're gonna put in those 2 last screws. Okay, just like that. And for this last bit, it'll probably help to have a screwdriver. And I've got one, so let's go ahead. I'm gonna grab my screwdriver. I've got my screwdriver, let's screw it in. And like that, and voila, we are done. So we just finished putting together our LED clock. Now let's jump into programming. So first, to find the code, we're gonna have to go to github.com. And on GitHub, if you search Zen Maker Lab LED clock, you'll be able to find it there. And it's gonna be the first one right there. Beautiful. And we can click code and download zip. And that is going to download the zip file. So if we open up our downloads now, we can go to extract files. Extract all. And we're going to extract it to a folder. There we go. It's just loading. And boom. There we go. So now we've got all these fun things here. So the LED clock is the actual code. There's a library that it runs on. We need to move that library into our Arduino library. So I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to go to my documents, Arduino, and libraries. And there you can copy it. So then I do paste. But I've already got it here. Yeah, it's going to say, I'm just going to skip the rest of that. But yeah, you can see it's already there. So you're going to have to copy it to your Arduino libraries. Okay, but once you've done that, you can go ahead and you can go back to the downloads folder, and we can just click on that Arduino file right there, and it's going to open up our LED clock code. It's going to load up here. Boom. There we go. So you can go ahead, you can take a look through all that code and modify it. One challenge that I have is maybe see if you can set up a timer, right? So say that we want the clock to maybe flash when it hits a certain time. See if you can program it to do that. But all the code is there, and you can take a look and read through it. Right now, we're going to focus on actually programming. So we're going to go to Tools here in the IDE. We're going to find Board, Arduino Nano. Okay. We're going to set the bootloader to the old bootloader. And then we're going to find the port that we're connected to. And then finally, we're going to click Upload. And that will upload the code to our board. Okay, So now that we've gone ahead and done that, let's take a look to see if it's working. Hey, look at that. So awesome, we did it. We made our LED clock. And you can see that each of the hands is actually a different color. So we've actually got, I'll go ahead and hold this up. We've got a variety of colors. So the red is our seconds, the green is our minutes, and the blue is the hour. And actually, when these things overlap each other, we actually get some different colors. Ooh, why is that? Remember, when we mix all the colors in light, we actually get white light, all right? And that's to do with the electromagnetic spectrum and the difference between light absorbers and light emitters. But I urge you to go ahead and look up all the different colors that you can generate with light and how that works. But there we go, so these are our hands. So on the back, I'm just pushing the buttons to actually set the time. So the time right now is 2:44, so let's go ahead and set it to 2:44. So let's see, that's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. And then I want to set this to 2:44. So we're gonna go all the way around. There's 2:30. And we're gonna go, there's about 45 almost. There we go. So that is 2:44. So I hope that you enjoyed this project. I hope you had fun. We learned a variety of things. We learned about oscillators. We learned about time. We learned about light. We learned about binary counters. And all together, they made this project. So I hope you had fun, and I will see you in the next one.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Design, Make, Play show. This week, we're going to be going over the fundamentals of infielding. So, in the last episodes, we learned about throwing and we learned about catching. In this episode, we're going to try to put everything together and field the ground ball, throw the ground ball. So, let's get started. Today, we're going to go over some of the fundamentals of fielding. So, where do we start? Most fielders start with the ready position. So if you don't know what this is, I'll show you. It's a position that makes it easy and comfortable to field ground balls in and gives you the ability to move laterally and forward and also backwards if you needed to. So what it is you want your feet shoulder width apart. You want to be kind of on the balls of your feet, and you want to have your hands out in front and be able to move in any direction that the ball takes you. You see how having your foot shoulder width apart gives you the ability to move in whatever way you want. If your feet are too wide, you get hunkered down into one spot and you can only field in front of you. And if your feet are too narrow, you won't have the ability to move with power in any direction that you want to be in. So that's why we say feet shoulder width apart. From there, you're gonna wanna learn how to pick up the ball using your feet. So if the ball's in front of you, you're gonna wanna work through the baseball every time. So it's gonna be right foot first, left foot in front, hands down. You always want your fingertips facing the ground. You don't wanna be like this. You don't wanna be with your hands pointed backwards. You always want them facing the ground to make it as easy as possible to pick up a moving baseball. So from that position, when you're in the ready position, you have your fingertips pointing down, the ball's coming at you. You wanna pick up the ball. You wanna go right foot in front, left foot, and from there you're in a powerful position to throw. So it's right foot, left foot, you're in a powerful position to throw. Remember how we said in the first segment, it'd be elbows up, right arm up, and you're gonna use your feet to throw, right? So once you pick up the ball, you're in that position, you wanna use your feet and make the throw. So we're gonna do that all together now. Ball's there. We're gonna get into our ready position. We're gonna work through the ball, and we're gonna throw. So that's what it should look like for you guys at home if you're trying to do this drill. So a couple fundamental drills that we can do. They're called Donaldsons. So for any of you guys that watch sports, watch baseball at home, Josh Donaldson's a great third baseman. He does this drill all the time. So what you wanna do is start in a upright kind of position. You're gonna have the ball in front of you. You're just gonna drop it. And you're just gonna work through it, using your feet, using your hands, keeping your head up, keeping everything straight in line, and you're gonna face your target. So it'll be like this. Drop it, work through it, face your target with your shoulder, and deliver the throw. So that'll be our first drill that we do. Full speed looks like this. And you work through it every time. So it should look the same every time, or pretty similar. And that's how you know you're doing something right. You can, if you wanna move on from this drill, have a variation, you put your glove on. You could have a partner maybe throw it to you with a bit more force, but you always wanna make sure you're picking it up on one hop and working through it with your feet and delivering the throw to your target. So that would be the first drill. This next drill we're about to do is actually called fundamentals. So you can see how, how basic it would be to fielding. So what you're gonna wanna do is, if you have a partner, you can do it like this. If not, I'll show you how to do it without a partner after. So you're gonna wanna start in the ready position like I talked about, and you're gonna wanna sink your butt, and your partner's gonna roll it to you right at you. So straight up, you're gonna keep your chin up, chest up, and you get your fingertips nice and close to the ground, and you're just gonna throw it back to your partner. You're gonna do that a couple times. Make sure you keep it right in front of you every time. So you keep your nose up, you keep it right in front of you. So a variation of this drill that we can do next would be you put your glove on and you do a couple like that. So make sure you're keeping the fundamentals in your mind and you're not forgetting to keep the ball out in front of you, and you're not forgetting to keep your nose up, keep your chin up, keep your body all straight and in line. So that's that drill. Next, we're gonna go to our forehand. We're gonna adjust how we're standing. So it'll be like a ball is going to our left hard and it's just getting past us. So you're gonna be standing in the ready position, but facing, your shoulder will be facing where the ball is coming from. So it'll be like this. And you're just gonna do the same thing, keep your nose up, chin up, but you're just playing the ball as if it's going past you a little bit. So it's just like this, as if it's going past you just a little bit. So we'll do that a couple more times. And then you keep your feet moving. See how every time my feet are moving in the direction I want to throw it? That's a key to this drill. So we'll do that one more time. And you got to keep your feet moving and make sure you get into that position you can throw from. So the variation from there would be you put the glove on, you do that over again, 10 more reps. So after you're done that, you go to backhand. So same thing, keep your nose up, keep your body in line, and make sure you're moving your feet towards your target. I didn't do it that time, but it should look like this. And you work through it, moving towards your target. So I'm gonna do it one more time for you guys, full speed, just so you can see what it's like. And you work towards your target. Make sure you're focused on the footwork and keeping your shoulder in line with where you're gonna throw. That's key for this drill. So that's how you do that drill with a partner. If you don't have someone to throw with at home, you're by yourself, whatever, everyone's out, you can do this drill by yourself. So what you're gonna wanna do is find a wall, something like this, go to a park, your garage, and all you're gonna do is set up in that ready position. You're gonna roll it, bounce off the wall, and you're gonna work through it. So it'll look like this. Pick it up, work through it. Make sure in your mind you have somewhere that you're gonna throw it, so you can work your shoulder towards, an imaginary target, someone that you might be throwing to. So keep that in mind. And you're gonna wanna make yourself move around so you can work through it. So once you do 3 straight at you, you're gonna do some to your backhand. Make sure you still work through it. And you're gonna do some to your forehand. And make sure you're still working through where you're gonna throw the ball. That's the important part of this drill, is picking it up and working through to your target, because it's gonna help you deliver a better, accurate throw to whoever you're trying to throw it to. On today's episode, we learned the basics of infielding. We took the first 2 lessons, which were throwing and catching, and we put them together, and we learned how to field and properly make a throw to whatever bag you're trying to throw to. So I feel like we're ready to go outside for these next episodes where we learn outfielding and hitting. Thanks for tuning in today. Can't wait to see you guys in the next episode.
Hello and welcome back. So now it's time for our 3 questions regarding those 3 segments. So I hope you're watching and I hope you're ready for these 3 questions coming right at you. So first up, we have our design question. And for design, we have, what are the 3 steps of drawing accurate human figures? What are the 3 steps to drawing an accurate human figure? So that is your first question regarding the design segment. For the make segment, what was the name of the website we used to get the code for the LED clock? What was the name of the website that we used to get the code for the LED clock? And that's actually pretty helpful because that website also has a huge pool of code from various projects all around the world. So make sure to check out that site. And lastly, for the play segment, we have what's the name of the exercise Rodney introduced that's named after a famous baseball player. Okay, so what was the name of the exercise that Rodney introduced that's named after a famous baseball player? So those are your 3 questions. If you know the answers, go ahead, write them down, type them out, and you can respond to those. You can message those to us via Instagram, okay? But yeah, you'll be able to find them there. So that concludes the first half of our show. Don't go anywhere though, because up next we've got a tribute, we've got some highlights, and we've got a very exciting interview. So I will see you in about 30 seconds. Hello and welcome back. So I'm very excited to have with us on the show today our engineering tribute. So of course the engineering tribute is the segment of the show where we give a highlight or we look at the contributions made to society or research by engineers and scientists, mathematicians. And today I'm very excited to be able to highlight Paul Edros. Okay, so Paul Edros, who was he? What did he do? Well, we're going to take a look a little bit at some of the things that he did, a little bit about his life and who he was. So let's go ahead and let's get started. So first things first, a little bit about Paul. Paul is actually known as being the person who has published the 2nd most mathematical papers in the world, in the entire world. Only person to publish more papers than him is actually Euler, okay? And Euler, if you've ever heard of Euler's formula, yeah, he's a pretty substantial mathematician. And Paul Edros is the 2nd, he's right behind him in the number of papers that he's actually published. So yeah, over 100 or over 1,500 papers in his life he's published. And yeah, absolutely crazy for somebody to do that. Imagine that, 1,500 papers. A lot of, just for some context, a lot of researchers or scientists, never break the barrier of 100, never break the barrier of 50. So Paul was really an exception to the rule, and he was writing papers throughout his entire life, okay? So not like from the moment that he graduated to the point that he died. He actually died giving a lecture. So he was very much always throughout his entire life doing research, working with other people. And that was one of the main ways that he was actually able to publish so many papers, was because he worked very collaboratively with other people. He would often go to somebody's house to go and write these papers with them. And he would propose a problem, or he would ask them what problems they were working on, and he would stay in their house and work on it together with them until they completed it, and then they'd publish the paper and he'd go off to the next one. And the other thing that he did was he didn't care where he published, so he published everywhere. If he couldn't get his paper into one journal, he'd apply to another one and another one until he got it published somewhere. Okay, so those are a few of the factors that made it possible for Paul to actually publish quite so many, was that he collaborated with so many other people. And collaborative work is really important, It's important, I guess, for setting records and papers, but it's also important for giving us insights that we didn't notice before, right? Somebody else might have an interesting perspective or interesting skills that we don't, and can actually help us out. So that's what Paul kind of dedicated himself to, was helping other people out. And he was actually well known for proposing good questions that were about the right skill level for the person that he was working with. in the case that they were looking for some sort of problem to solve or some sort of paper topic. So yeah, he was also very good at proposing ideas for these papers. So yeah, so he published a lot of papers and did so through collaboration. Now, one of the topics that Paul really attributed a lot of knowledge to was actually Ramsey's theory. So Ramsey theory it's kind of a weird theory. It's the theory that given some universe, if we grow that universe to a certain point, eventually we guarantee that there will be some ordered structure in that universe. So for example, if we say that we are going to grow, say that we grow a universe that's filled with say toast. Eventually, we're going to come across a slice of toast that has a face in it, and so that's kind of one example. Another example that's probably a little bit more clear is proposed in this theorem of friends and strangers, which can give us a better idea of what Ramsey theory is and what Paul did for Ramsey theory. So suppose that we have a party, and in that party there are going to be two people, and these two people are either going to know each other, okay, they're going to be mutual acquaintances, or they're not going to have ever met before, and they're going to be mutual strangers. And what we know is that for a group of 6, there will at least be 3 people that either all know each other or all don't know each other. Okay? So for a smaller universe of say 4 or 5, we're not quite sure. It could be maybe there are 3 people that know each other, 3 people that don't. But we're not sure, right? There's 5, so there could be 2 that know each other, 2 that don't, or vice versa. But for 6, we actually know for certain that there are 3 that either know each other or don't know each other. So this gives us some idea of Ramsey theory, right? The idea that at a certain point we know that these certain structures or these certain things have to exist, right? There's no other option. So that's the study of Ramsey theory. It's what size does your randomness have to grow, where eventually you'll start to see these structured this structure within that randomness. Yeah, so pretty interesting. A little bit about Paul Edros and his life. So Paul was actually born in Austria-Hungary, and he was born just before World War I. His father was unfortunately captured, and so he didn't get to know his father very well throughout his life, but he was very close with his mother. He went to school at an early age. He got in at 17, and that's when he went, or to university, that's when he ended up going. And he studied for a long period there until he finally had to leave Hungary, and he left to the States for fear of World War II, which was approaching. So he was born at a bad time in that he had a lot of wars in his life. But he constantly survived, and I think that it had some impact on his character. He was a bit of a nomad too. He didn't actually have an apartment per se. He had his home in Hungary that his mom lived in, but he would kind of travel around. Or if he had a professorship at a university, they'd normally give him a place to lodge, but he, for the most part, didn't really stay there. He liked to visit friends all the time. And when he would visit his friends, he would expect that they would take care of him and whatnot. So yeah, so thank you, Paul, for your engineering tribute. You did a fantastic amount of things for us, and so we wanted to give you a highlight, a tribute on the show today. So let's go ahead and let's dive into our maker highlights for the day. Now, this is a segment of the show where we highlight projects being worked on by students here at ZMA or submitted to us through our summer giveaway competition. So of course, if you want to have your maker project that you've been working on this summer on the maker highlights here, you can send it to us via email, Instagram, or any of those other mediums. But let's go ahead now and take a look at our submissions for the day. And first up, we have Jamie's complimentary art. So Jamie is actually working on this art piece, learning some of the principles of art, and this principle is known as the complementary principle. Okay, so you're using colors that sort of complement each other. So this orange and this purple and brown, these are colors that are actually complementing each other. And I thought this was a great submission because I don't know, there's something about this. It's kind of like it kind of looks like an eye, you know, of like some sort of bird or something. So I just thought it was kind of interesting. And so of course I wanted to throw it in here as one of our highlights. So good job, Jamie, on your complimentary art. I thought it was very interesting and very intriguing. Next up we have Rodin Saturn. So this is actually a planet that Rodin made using 3D design and 3D printing. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at this planet. Let's take a look at this planet. So I think Rodin did a really good job here of making sure that Saturn had some rings around it. He's got the planet. It looks like maybe it got stretched out a little bit, but that's okay. You know, the Earth isn't a perfect sphere. It's more of like an ellipsoid a little bit. It's kind of like a stretched out sphere. And part of that has to do with the fact that it's spinning on an axis, and so some of its weight gets more pushed out to the sides, right? And that's the thing that we intuitively understand. But yeah, so this is still loading here. Oh, there we go, beautiful. Yeah, so here we can see we've got this beautiful Saturn. It's got all these very cool rings around it. It's on top of a pyramid. And yeah, I thought that Rodin did a very good job on this sort of like, I don't know, it's got like we've got some Saturn here. We've got maybe some of Saturn's moons that are flying around here. I think maybe these are some moons. And of course we've got some stand, right? To maybe this is meant to be 3D printed and we can put this on a stand, but I guess that wouldn't really work because we want the rings to be attached to something, right? So Rodin, if that's your plan, I would recommend maybe attaching some struts. But I thought you did a really good job on this Saturn, giving it some rings, giving it some moons. And I also thought that, you know, in the case of this wasn't a stand, maybe it's like a pyramid thing. You know, some people actually think that the pyramids were made by like aliens. Like for a long time, it wasn't really known. And some people still are unsure of how the pyramids were actually constructed, the pyramids of Egypt. So some people used to think it was aliens. So maybe Rodin is also under the impression that aliens put together the pyramids, and actually it was aliens from Saturn, and maybe they put together this pyramid. I don't know, Rodin, you'll have to tell me. But I thought that you did a fantastic job on this piece, so I wanted to, of course, give you a shout out and show off this beautiful design of this planet. Oh, there we go. There's a donut moon, of course. Of course, everybody knows that Saturn's got a donut moon. How else are you supposed to survive on Saturn if you don't have a moon entirely made of donuts? But yeah, fantastic work. Really enjoyed this piece, and so we want to give you a shout out here on the show. So that covers our maker highlights for today, our submissions for today. Now I hope you enjoyed this segment, but don't go anywhere, because next up we've got somebody who's going to be introducing us to a concept of Rock Monster. So we're very excited to have her on the show. So don't go anywhere.
Hi everybody, this is Coach Greg at Zen Maker Lab. We're going to be doing these Unleashing Summer Awesome activities with the staff here. So I'm going to start it off with the floor ball. Here we go. These are things you can do with the shield.
Ever since I got this face shield, I noticed improvement in my juggling. Stay active, try local.
All right, so that's Unleashing Summer Awesome, the Monkey Bar Challenge. Stay active, try local. Stay active. Try local. Here we go, stay active everyone. Stay active, try local.
Early on, we realized that it would inevitably spread to Canada. We had to ask ourselves what we could do to keep our population safe.
My mom is a nurse at Lionsgate Hospital, and her concern is the rapid spread of the virus across the wards, so I decided to create a face shield for her to keep her safe from COVID-19.
And GladSend donated what they could. A lot of hospitals in Canada did not have enough PPE.
At Zen, we're a team of makers with backgrounds in engineering, business, and design. We believe that great ideas are only worth the action taken.
We noticed that these face shields were being made in a way that wasn't environmentally friendly. We thought, wouldn't it be great if we could make one that was recyclable, that was biodegradable, that could protect people, as well as protect the environment.
The power a community has to create health is limitless when we work together.
Welcome back to the Design Make Play Show. My name is Siri Jones with Zen Maker Lab, and today we've got a really special guest, Amanda Marshall, who is a first-time author as well as a mom, and she's got a really cool project about rock monsters. So welcome, Amanda. Thank you for joining the show.
Thanks for having me.
It looks like an amazing idea you came up with, and it's cool to see all the traction it's getting. So maybe just to start off with, though, before we get into the rock monsters, which I'm sure the kids especially will want to hear about, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm just living in East Vancouver. I'm a mom of two. I'm on maternity leave right now, so spending lots of time with the kids and looking for new activities. I love artistic things. I like baking cakes and drawing and painting and all that type of stuff, but I'm not a professional artist or a professional author. I'm just kind of trying to soak up my two kids right now while I have the chance.
Okay, well that's cool, and I understand that in part you wanted to explain the situation with COVID-19 to your 3-year-old daughter, and so you came up with this idea to write a book. So can you tell and maybe you can show us the book and tell us a little bit about that, what happened?
Yeah, so there's the book. It's called Rock Monsters. And so basically what happened is it started just with painting rocks. My daughter and I have had a whole list. We're calling them core activities, and we just make a list of things that we want to do. And painting rock monsters was one of them. And I just posted a couple videos and pictures of us doing that on my Instagram account. And I noticed a lot of my friends started doing the same thing. They really liked the idea of painting rocks and painting rock monsters. And so I thought, well, maybe there's a way to make this more meaningful. And the book was born. So then I just sort of wrote the book and did a few little drawings and shared it with some friends, and we decided to hide rock monsters around the neighborhood, and it just totally took off. So it was I never expected. I mean, I kind of thought, well, that might be neat if it turned into something big, but I really didn't expect it to happen. And within a week, I was getting calls for television interviews, and Sophie Trudeau mentioned it on her Instagram account, and yeah, it totally blew up. So it's been really cool.
Ah, nice. Yeah, I'm pretty sure in North Vancouver I saw some of the rocks somewhere. I can't remember exactly where, but when I saw the book, I was like, oh, that looks familiar. I think I've seen them somewhere.
Yeah, they are. They're really all over, like in Japan and Australia, all over the US and Canada. Wow. I've had hundreds, not maybe thousands probably, of people sending me pictures of their rock monsters or tagging me, it's been really
cool. And how did, what is I went through the book, it looks really cool. You have different characters, different colors for different messages. You say you're a first-time author. How was that, writing your first children's book?
If I'm being totally honest, it was very easy. I just had this idea and I did it very quickly. It just kind of came out. It was just one of those things where I didn't sit down and set out to work on this book and this project. It was more of a poem in my mind, and I just did it on my phone, in my notes on my iPhone. And then I sort of read it to a friend, to my neighbor and my partner, and they said, that's good, like you should really turn that into something. And so then I sat down on my computer and kind of made some edits, and it came out really quickly. So doing another one, I think, would be a little bit of a bigger task. This one just kind of came out, but yeah.
Yeah, well, it's really cool. A lot of people maybe have ideas, but not too many people, go the next step and actually implement your ideas. So how has that been? Like, I see you have a website. Can people get it on Amazon, the book, or is it more like through your website?
No. Yep, it's 100% a charity project. So I'm not making any money on this whatsoever. So you can get it on the website right now. And you just have to make a donation. So it's a minimum of a $20 donation, and I'll send you a book. And it's funny, the reason the book even happened, because I think I was too nervous to get books printed and to do all of that. I thought nobody would want to buy one. But I had sort of a friend of a friend who stumbled onto the project, and she was looking for a volunteer charity project to do for her children's school. And she said, let's get books printed, and she was going to pay for some of them. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll get 20 extra books on top of that and pay for those and see if I can sell them. And I've been to the printers 4 times. Oh, wow. And yeah, so it started with like sort of her support that pushed me to make the actual book and get it printed, and then now it's turned into a lot. I can't believe how many people have wanted books, and it's been really.
And that's really cool that it's all the proceeds go to it's Mamas for Mamas. Can you say a little bit about that organization? That sounds cool. Yeah,
so Mamas for Mamas is a Canadian charity. I think they were started in the Okanagan, but they have 52 chapters across Canada. And they are basically trying to break the cycle of poverty. They're helping families and single moms and even single dads really with anything they need. They have a sustainable food program, so if it's feeding or clothing or shelter, they're helping these families break out of the poverty cycle. If counseling, they're very broad in what they're trying to provide, what people need, not just food or just this. They try to really get to know the families and help them with their individual needs.
That's great. So in addition to raising awareness for helping kids deal with the COVID-19 and having some fun, also raising awareness for this organization. So it has a lot of positive outcomes. What was your source of inspiration for the whole project?
I would say mostly my 3-year-old daughter and her friends. It was hard for her. She was going to school and hanging out with her friends, and then all of a sudden we couldn't see anybody. We couldn't see her grandparents, and we're talking about this virus, and it's hard for a little 3-year-old to wrap her head around it. So I thought this would make it fun and this would make it simple. And so she started hiding rocks basically on the walk to her little best friend's house. And so they left rocks for each other, and that really helped them connect in a different way. And also sort of realize, when we started going in the neighborhood and seeing rocks that we've never seen before, that other families and other people are painting, it kind of made her realize we're not the only ones dealing with this. Everybody is dealing with this. So it was kind of nice to just sort of see that connection. I was inspired really by her and her other friends and other little kids who are trying to deal with COVID-19 in their own little way.
So it's like a messaging system. Other people see the different, that's really cool. And the different characters, are they all sort of different colors of rocks and different sizes of rocks? Are they, maybe you can show in the book a few of the characters?
Yeah, so let's see. Just adjust my chair a little bit. So there they are. And some of them are just random, because that's the whole point too, is anybody can paint a rock monster. It doesn't have to look like anything. You don't have to do the rocks from the books. They can look like anything you want. So red monsters remind you to stop and wash your hands. Yellow monsters are more about emotions and trying to stay positive. Blue monsters are reminding us to thank people. It's, you know, essential workers, but really anyone. It's really about gratitude. That's the message there. Green, about trying to stay healthy, eating healthy food, moving your body. Purple monsters are just reminding us to cooperate. And the purple monsters were really inspired by parents who are also struggling. And I've talked to a lot of friends. I mean, I'm lucky enough to be on maternity leave, but I have a lot of friends whose children are home with them and they're trying to work, and that's difficult. So it's hard for parents too. So reminding kids to cooperate and, work together as a family. So those are those 5 are the main ones in the book.
That looks really nice. And how do people, what's the website address if people want to order the book? I think I might even have the site on here, but I'll just quickly switch to it.
RockMonsterFriends.com.
RockMonsterFriends.com. Okay, and one thing I noticed there, you've got another thing that's really looks quite cool, 7 o'clock portraits. Now that's a little bit, a whole nother project. Can you say just a few words about that? We have about 2 minutes left.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I collaborated with, I'm from Victoria originally, and another girl who I didn't know very well, sort of we knew of each other. She started doing this really neat project. She's a photographer, and she was walking down the streets of Vancouver when people were doing their 7 o'clock cheer and taking beautiful candid photos. And she's going to be compiling them into books to donate to the hospitals. And so she and I decided to collaborate, and then she was also giving money to Mamas for Mamas, just booking photo shoots with families and then giving a percentage of the proceeds to Mamas for Mamas. So yeah, really cool. Check out her Instagram and check out her little blurb and her photos on the website.
Oh, nice. And back to the rocks for a second. When people, do you encourage the kids to, or maybe they're too young to take the pictures, or the adults to take some pictures of the rocks and then put them on your Instagram to see where they end up? Or like you said, you've seen them in Japan and different places.
Yeah, you can contact me on the website. You can send a picture that way, or you can tag me on Instagram or send me a message on Instagram. And I haven't been able to post everybody's photos because I've received so many, but I will definitely do that. Yeah, it all of a sudden it was like a full-time job. So
what has been your
I'd love to see your photos. Pardon me?
And what is your daughter's reaction to seeing something that you've developed at home as a project, and it must be pretty cool to see.
I think, and when I was on TV, she was like, "Oh, Mommy's on TV," but I don't think, because she's so used to FaceTime and, little Zoom classes and that type of thing, I don't think she really understood. But I have a nephew who's about 7, and he's like, "Are you famous?"
Oh, really?
So yeah, it was really, and I was on a podcast that my sister was listening to, and he heard that, and he thought that was like, "Wow, you're a famous person now." So that was cute to hear.
Well, it's really a good lesson for them to see, taking an idea, turning it into reality, and during what is a really challenging time, turning it into a real positive. So, and it's cool to see the art side of it. I see and you did all the drawing as well?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right, well, here in the show we have science, technology, engineering, art, and math. So we mix in sort of the art with things, and so it's cool to see. And you had to do a little bit of everything with the writing, the publishing, entrepreneurship, the whole thing, website. So well, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So once again, that was Amanda Marshall of the Rock Monsters, and really cool project, a book that helps to explain to kids about COVID-19 and raising money for Mamas for Mamas. So thanks for joining us today on the Design Make Play show, and we will see you tomorrow. Have a good rest of the day.